Hey guys, and welcome to the Tomney Show's podcast, episode 1.
Where we talk about movies and TV shows.
Yeah, just anything that we've really seen recently that we think is worthy of talking about. I think we might even talk about some trailers too, because, sometimes trailers come out way before you're going to see it,
Yeah, we have a list.
Yeah, a list of things we're going to go through. But for episode 1, we're going to be talking about The Babysitter.
Babysitter, coming this Friday.
It's actually came out October 13th of 2017. It was a Netflix original movie.
This summer.
It was actually in the fall. But it's a really interesting movie starring Samara Weaving and Judah Lewis as the main the two main characters, but there's also some really interesting notable names in there like Bella Thorne and King Batch from Vine. I mean, he does other things, but he got his start on Vine, which I thought was really cool, and caught my eye why I wanted to see it.
And it was directed by someone named McG. I don't know who he is.
Yeah, I don't really know
Oh.
who or what that is.
I
Never
don't
really
know
heard
what a
of them.
McG is. Alright, let's look. So, we can start with a summary of the movie. But
Sure.
first, also, spoilers, and for all future videos, we won't always say spoilers, but every movie review we do will be spoilers. I mean, I'll probably put spoilers in the description, but honestly...
Yeah. But just know, I feel like this is a general rule of thumb. I would never really listen to, any sort of review or people talking about something that I haven't seen, that I plan to see. I just feel like most people should have... I just feel like most people should have that common sense to not watch a review of something they plan to see but have not seen yet. Anyways, spoiler alert, right?
I would say a fully fleshed out review, but I could understand when maybe they don't know if a movie is good or not coming in theaters. Maybe they want to know a little bit about it. But at the same time, it's
that's what friends are for.
Yeah, that's what friends are for.
You ask them, hey, was it good or was it not? Should I go see it or not?
Shit, no, I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. But sometimes you do want to go into the movie just surprised, not knowing what it's about.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was going to talk about this poster. And, its headline... And we recently watched a video about movie posters and stuff, where it's and I think this line right here is pretty good. Dream girls can be a nightmare.
Oh, I like
which
that.
is better than, I can't remember what it was, but just, you're gonna die or something.
Yeah. You'll never see what happens. Or something like that.
Corny, something cheesy, whereas it's it's kind of a mystery. At the same time, you know kind of what the nightmare is going to be because the poster kind of shows blood on the title Babysitter, but...
Yeah, and I
it's
also want to, if we're going to be talking about the movie poster, I also do want to mention, I actually really like how it's got that pseudo-drawn style, kind of.
It's beautiful.
It's really, really well done. I also really appreciate that it's kind of got this old school look to it where it's you can see the reflection in the sunglasses and she's clearly a bombshell hot girl, and you're whoa, okay. But it's not cheesy like the freaking the contrasting thing where they'll do two different main characters and then one side is one color of the color spectrum and the other one is its opposite, and I hate that. Or for Scream, the classic Scream horror film where it was the main Scream face and then kind of the other supporting cast members on the bottom and smaller at the bottom of the screen. I hate stuff like that where it's you see so many movie posters that look like that. So I know that's not really necessarily getting into the movie, but I do actually like the artwork for the movie as well.
Alright, let's do summary.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, probably some of you have watched this movie, because we're doing spoilers, but we can do a refresher.
Just
to refresh ourselves, to refresh the
just
audience.
So get through the gist so that we can start talking about more specific things. Just go through the gist of the plot.
All right, so you can start while I grab my charger real quick.
Okay. It's so it starts off with this kid who's 12 years old, and he's he's kind of awkward, and what else? I don't know. He's got like a little friend girl who he likes. Obviously, it's so plainly obvious. But anyways, so we know he's a nerd. Yeah, he's a nerd for sure, and then like somebody calls him a pussy like in his gym class, and he gets hit in the face with like sports balls all the time, and I don't know.
It pretty much established his character as a weaker, less deserving of life human being.
No, so he goes home and he's like, "Hey mom, am I a pussy?" And she's like, "No, honey. Insert stereotypical aversion mother speech here." Anyways, no. And then his dad's kind of trying to be the cool dad and teach him how to drive, even though he's 12 and really doesn't need to be driving anytime soon. And then, of course, you've got it, and then, of course, I kind of jumped a little far ahead, but they do establish that he's got people who are bullying him a lot, and then
there's
mostly the main kid, but there's these 3 kids that bully him, and they egg his house, and then all of a sudden, the babysitter comes out, and she's like, "Hey, don't be mean to him," and treats him like he's cool and gives him a ride home and whatever.
It's really suspicious how close or how often the babysitter shows up in areas very close to the main protagonist, like you just said, the bullies come out and she just comes out. I mean, surely she has school to get to too. I think she's a high schooler.
This was after school though.
And then oh, really?
Yeah, that was after school.
Oh, and then another time during gym class later, she's just at the mini mart, whatever. I think it was mini mart, which is pretty funny. Just like a Casey's or a gas station. I should just say gas station. I don't know if everyone knows what a Casey's is.
Yeah.
Oops. We revealed her location.
Oh no, it's fine. Anyways.
And then she's just there.
Yeah.
Not in school still.
Well, they have open periods. They can leave campus. I don't know. So his parents, they establish that his parents are going out of town, or they're just leaving for maybe a night or a weekend or whatever. And this is pretty stereotypical for them, apparently, because you can kind of see that the main character is like, oh, whatever, I'm
glad that they didn't make a big deal out of them needing to leave. Now this is just a typical babysitting job.
It's just a typical babysitting job. However, it's very funny how they made the main character ask, is this normal for a 12-year-old to still have a babysitter?
Yeah.
And and everybody is like, yeah. But he doesn't care because he actually really likes his babysitter and she's really cool. So then, there's a almost 10 to 15 minute long, it feels like 10 minute long, montage of her just being like, hey, I'm over here, hey, let's talk about cool stuff and all the nerdy stuff that you're into.
Yeah, so they early on established these 2 characters are close.
Yeah, they're really, really close. They really get each other and whatnot. And they kind of establish it earlier, too, where she's like, are those kids bullying you? And he's like, no. And she's like, you look away when you lie. And it's like, oh, and that comes up later in the movie.
I enjoy often when they seem to be good at building up and staying consistent.
Yeah, they
establishing stuff.
All the little things, all the little dialogue things that happen between characters do show up later in the movie and have either a double-edged meaning. You know what I mean? So I like it when they do that, when it's mentioning oh, the car, and then the car shows up later as a bigger plot point than originally you thought at the beginning of the movie or something like that. Like, I think that's really interesting when movies can do that. So that was really smart on their part, whoever is the writing team for this movie.
Yeah.
It says it was written by Brian Duffield. Well, he did it very good.
There's no link to him.
It's fine.
Also, we're looking at Wikipedia.
Yeah. But yeah, no,
Oops, spin the bottle. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
And so, what else happens?
I guess, well, they just set up the characters, and then the parents go out of town, so, they have this big hurrah, they quote-unquote party, at least that's what the babysitter calls it, where they just, have fun together. And it really seems interesting how, like, non-socially awkward this kid is around her. Yeah. Whereas before, and all other times when he's in school or around someone he cares about, like, he doesn't let loose. He's just kind of uptight. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he definitely, when you see him just one-on-one with his babysitter, you can, like, he's just super outgoing, and he's really funny kid, and it's like, where's all of this, like, wit and charm and, like, confidence? Where is all that when you're at school? Like, why are you letting people kind of walk all over you, kind of thing?
Like, they have fun, they watch movies, they play games, and there's a sweet moment where he's being put to bed, and he's like, the babysitter can tell by his wording, oh, what's wrong? And he's like, yeah, I know I like to seem normal on the outside, but on the inside I just feel weird every day. And she's like, you know what? I'd take weird any day or every day.
Yeah, she's
I'm
like,
sure some girl
I like weird all the time, or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet, like, and you can kind of see that that's why. I feel like she accepts, like, his nerdy, like, what was it? They were talking about, like, intergalactic teams and, like, who would be on it, and I think it was, like, kind of a joke of, like, you could choose any celebrity, any character, any, like, fictional or real character, like, anybody in the world, if you made a team of, like, an intergalactic, like, whatever, just, like, space team of heroes or something, who would it be? Like, who would you put on that team? And so I, and it's like, who would do that? Like, who would kind of indulge a 12-year-old kid? And she did, despite that she was older than him. She never made him feel like he was lesser than her. She always kind of, like, made him feel like he was on the same level. She never babied him, despite that she was his babysitter. I think that's the point.
That's funny.
I think that's the point, is that's why he liked her so much. Anyways, so it gets crazy.
After bed is when shit goes down. The orgy happens.
He texts his little, like, friend from school, and he's like, yeah, there's a bunch of people over, and she's like, oh, they're gonna have an orgy, and he's like, what's an orgy? So he looks it up. Then he goes downstairs because she's like, go downstairs and watch them.
It's funny how, like, it's so real when, like, of course, with the internet, if you have a question, just look it up. Just
look it up. Thank you.
His father was like, oh, Mad Men.
You don't know what Mad Men is.
You want to understand until you're older. And it's like, he just looks it up and he completely understands it. It's not something crazy.
Right, and it's like, yeah, sure, he's probably never heard of orgy, but, like, that completely changes in about 5 seconds. He looks it up, now he knows what orgy is. Like, and it's, like, so true. Like,
it's important in the plot.
It is. But, no, but, like, what's actually really important about this part is that he's texting his friend, and she's like, oh, they're gonna have an orgy. I'm pretty sure they were talking about this earlier, because she mentioned, when she gave him a ride home, she was like, oh, yeah, we're gonna have a party, you and me, on whatever day that I'm planned to come over and babysit you. We're gonna have a party. And I think she even mentioned something about, like, bringing people over or whatever, but she actually did, and he knew it, which is why he was staying up, because he was like, oh, I kind of want to, like, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna have an orgy or whatever? And he was like, I don't know what that is, but okay. And she was like, you should go watch them. And he was like, yeah, I just want to see, like, what they're gonna do or whatever. And sure enough, he did. And
they were playing Spin the Bottle.
They were playing
Spin the Bottle, which is why it showed up on the Wikipedias.
Yes.
And then, what was her name? C or something?
Bree?
Bree? Was it Bree?
Or is it B? I don't remember.
Okay. Oh, it's just B.
Is it just B? Yeah.
Just B.
Yeah,
anyway,
B.
so B was playing Spin the Bottle.
And she was dared.
Jock guy, typical jock guy. He was a quarterback. Jock guy's like...
Max.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Okay, yeah.
But anyways, he dared her to kiss everybody in the circle, which was...
and we don't need
a couple of people. So, but then there was one kid that...
so, at the Quickie Mart, it was like... It kind of established that they were together, kind of.
Well, it was like this new guy that she was hanging out with. But like, let's be honest. If you were in the audience, and this is just me, he was like this scrawny, glasses wearing, kind of tousled, curly hair kid, and it was like, well, he wasn't a kid. He was like around her age, but like you saw her hanging out with him and kind of being like a little flirty and like touchy and whatnot, and really intimate with him. And so it kind of was like, oh, is that her boyfriend? But also you kind of go, he looks a little out of her league. And he looked kind of awkward.
Out of her league? Or she was out of his league?
Yeah, sorry. It looks like she's out of his league, okay? And he even kind of looked a little awkward and kind of like, what's going on a bit? And even when fast forward, when he's with them in the house, he's like, I don't know you guys, when she gets to him and she's gonna kiss him, and she's like, just close your eyes and pretend they're not here and just calm down. And then she kisses him and then fucking stabs him in the head with 2 knives.
Yep.
And the kid, I love the text on the screen at this point. It shoots to the like little kid's face, and it's just in the words "what the fuck" just like across the screen. And I'm like, actually though, that's like that's my genuine reaction. I love that. Yeah, it was really smart.
He hears come upstairs.
Well, he hears that they're going to come upstairs.
They're going to come upstairs. So he like
runs upstairs.
He runs upstairs, hides under his, like, once he hears them like about to come, he hides under his blanket to make sure. And he doesn't hide under his blanket, but he
just pretends to go back to sleep.
To fall asleep. So that and then they take his blood.
Now, I thought this part was also kind of interesting. Before you move on, though, I thought it was kind of interesting because the very first scene was him freaking out about getting the flu shot, and he screamed being shot with the little tiny, like the butterfly needle, right? Well, they're taking blood from him. This is a bigger gauged needle, and this kid had to pretend to be conked out because she tried to give him a drugged shot of like alcohol, and he decided to throw it in a plant because he just didn't want alcohol. He just didn't want alcohol. It wasn't necessarily because he knew that it was medicated. He just wanted to pretend like he actually did take it and look cool without actually taking it. Well, turns out that probably was gonna have like some sort of sleep agent in it, so he would have been actually asleep and wouldn't have felt it. So this poor kid had to be awake and conscious with a giant needle going into his arm, and he had to pretend like he was asleep.
And the whole time, they couldn't tell he was actually awake. Which is funny. But, alright, so they draw the blood. Mm-hmm. Babysitter is a bit suspicious, so when they all leave, she just hides behind the door, and then he gets up. And then they have this whole talk out, like... Actually, wait, no. He just faints while she's behind him.
Yeah, he faints.
And then he wakes up, hands tied behind his back.
But I think that... She tries to say that he fainted, but I think that the needle was...
He fainted.
Okay. Yeah, he probably did. He probably just fainted. Never mind. Anyways, yeah.
And then there's the whole... So he wakes up, hands tied behind all their back. and his back, and then he's like kind of confused about the situation, but at the same time he knows all what's going on, and meanwhile the teenagers have to figure out how much he knows, and so he eats a cookie. wait. So we don't need to go into too much detail.
That's true. But he eats a cookie, but I also wanted to mention this smart part again, that he had a pocket knife which he put in his pocket earlier when he was freaking out. He was smart, and he did everything he could have really in that situation, or anybody should do in that situation. It's like, honestly, watch that scene. That's what you do if anything like that happens. Like, if somebody just intrudes into your house and you're by yourself, this is what you do. What that kid did is what you do. Anyways, but I thought it was funny because he had a pocket knife and he was trying to cut the rope, and apparently there was a mirror, and they were like, the whole time we've been watching you try to get out of that because we can see you, there's a mirror. And he turns around and he sees it, and he still continues to and it was so funny. I thought that was so smart, because every other trope where somebody's arms are tied and they just happen to have something to cut the rope with, and so the people are standing right in front of him, not realizing that he's jerking one arm up and down trying to cut it. Really? But this one actually did call it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I thought that was funny.
So what if he actually okay, well, I guess we could go back to that. What if he actually got loose? Let's come back to that. But, so then cops come. Somehow the jock manages to kill both with his bare hands.
That's not true. I mean, he throws a fireplace pick through one person's face.
And then the other cop doesn't immediately open fire.
I don't even understand. Also, why was the other cop so... This is just me. Why was the other cop so bent on trying to apprehend the black guy, and he just was he was drenched in blood, but he was like, dude, I have nothing to do with any of this, I swear. And meanwhile, you're not paying attention to the dude who is armed with a fucking fireplace pick that just threw it through your partner's head. Why are you not taking your attention away from the clearly unarmed man, and then shooting the shit out of the used to be armed man who is clearly lethal? I just don't understand. I thought that was kind of stupid. The police officers were definitely dumb. I think they of all the people in this movie that were really smart, actually, that were written really, really funny and really smart, the police officers were probably the dumbest characters in this movie.
That's always the problem.
It is always the problem.
Anyways, alright, so they kill the cops, and then Cole, the main character, manages to run away, doesn't grab the guns, doesn't go outside the open door, runs upstairs.
I know, he runs upstairs, and I remember we were yelling at that. We were like, why are you going upstairs?
Where there's only one way out, which is
the so rope made out of sheets that he had made earlier. Anyways, he tried to do that. Then Bree was like, "Go after him." Told the jock guy to go after him, and he tries to barricade the door.
First, and that's true. He gets pushed, so he's dead. Also, the cheerleader gets shot. So at this point, we interpret her as dead.
We think she's dead,
and then.
You've got,
because she's still talking, so she's bleeding out, but we're pretty sure she's not gonna chase after the kid.
She's not gonna survive.
So, kid pushes the guy down, hides in the bedroom, tries going out the window. Jock pulls on the rope. He falls down. He's hurt, so the jock manages to catch up to him, and the jock is like, I am not here for the cult part. I just want to kill someone. So he's really easy on him, because I think he knows that he's toying with him.
Yeah, he's totally toying with him.
And I think so he just runs around. Mm-hmm. He manages to escape the jock, and then he grabs some tools in the tool shed, and hides under the previously established
crawl space.
Crawl space, yeah.
That's infested with spiders.
And rats.
Yeah, spiders and rats. And the mom who established the space earlier in the movie, she didn't give a shit about the spiders. Merely she only cared about the rats. So there are a bunch of mouse traps under there. Yeah. Anyways, he hides under a blanket. He's got a lighter and a rocket firework thing. And the Asian girl goes after him, the one that gave him the cookie. She goes after him, figures out he's under there. Then he somehow snakes around her, because I think her hands get caught in mouse traps. That's why those were important. Literally every detail that was established previously, it's so smart.
He tries to fire a rocket at her.
And he misses.
Escapes, and then
locks her in there.
Uses the nails that you have to do to undo the little panel to get in. So he redoes them, so it explodes and she's dead.
I love how it explodes. So he sprayed bug spray on her. That's another thing. It was an aerosol can. Basically anything in an aerosol can is going to be flammable. So he sprayed it all in her face while she was trying to get out, as he was still nailing it in. And so the firework blows up and she's screaming because she is kind of caught on fire, but she's like, I'm not dead yet. And then it blows up a second time and she's like she's just dead silent, literally. And it was so funny. Yeah. I was like, I just want to say I love this movie for being a really good comedy and an actual horror film at the same time. Yeah. I actually found myself jumping and flinching at the spiders. Just the spiders. No, but I actually found myself jumping and flinching at even the jump scares. They weren't cheap. They were done really well. And there was actually one jump scare that was kind of silly and totally overdone, that I mentioned was overdone, but it was on purpose. I just really love how this movie was able to have comedy timing done right in a horror film.
Yeah. So then he runs from the jock again after he manages to find her after Sonia has been blown up, and he does the trick that the babysitter told him to do, which was run away, drop like a sack of potatoes, and then kick him in the dick, which he does. Yes. But his penis is too small. I think it was the gag. And the bully comes back to egg his house, and we're all like, what the heck? So they both go over to the bully, and then
not both of them,
the
just
jock,
one guy. Just the little kid. The jock was hiding behind the
Well, they go over
corner
near the house.
Oh, okay.
And they have a little chat, and the jock's like, yo, you gotta stand up for yourself. Go take care of that first.
Yeah! And then we'll continue this.
While the jock is trying to chase and kill the kid. It's so funny. So he goes up and actually tries to stand up against his bully.
Kind of, but then he's like, hey, help me, there's this guy trying to kill me, and there's a bunch of dead people in my house. And the kid first pretends to be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll help you, and then completely is like, nah, fucking have fun dying, bye.
And then drops an egg on his face.
Yeah.
Which is important.
And
then, I think
he runs towards the tree house.
Goes up the tree house. Jock climbs up the rope, which I didn't anticipate, or the Cole didn't anticipate the rope, so he's kind of like, oh geez, we're both up here now.
Yeah.
And they have a little dialogue
where he's like, I'm not going to let you die with egg on your face. So he wipes the egg off of his face. Well, now the egg is on his hands. And they show a shot of the egg yolk being on his hands. Anyways, then they're like, all right, time to die. And the kid, I think he tries to jump off of the...
No, the treehouse floor kind of just breaks. And then the rope manages to get around the jock's neck and kills him. And the kid just runs away.
Yeah, well, the kid's hands are not slippery. So the jock tried to hold on to the branch, but it didn't work. So because he just slid right off because of the egg. But the kid's hands didn't have anything on him, so he was able to actually keep a grip. Meanwhile, the rope got around the jock's neck and snapped real hard.
So then So then, as far as we know, it's only the babysitter left. So he just runs to his friend's house,
which is across the street.
Then babysitter is chasing Cole with a gun, and
he gets out of there pretty much. I mean,
goes back to his own house.
The girl kisses him, and we saw this coming. Okay, they both liked each other, anyways.
Yep, and then turns out cheerleader girl who was previously shot, thought to be dead. There's a little scene where Cole is checking on the body, and then turn smartly, the kid blocks the chair she was sitting on, and then when he moves over a little more, then we see the chair is empty. Yeah. So we think, oh, what is there paranormal stuff coming on?
Yeah, because
we know there's blood magic going on.
There's some sort of summoning Satanist devil book. Blood of a sacrifice, blood of a virgin. Yeah, we know there's some stuff going on.
But nope, she was just pretending to be dead.
She was just pretending to be dead.
They
probably tired. I mean, honestly, if you had lost that much blood, you would lose a little bit of consciousness. But anyways,
Cole tried to outwit her, and she got a knife on him. Probably about to kill him before babysitter blows off
her entire head. There are actual skull bits on this kid's face. Yeah. Jesus Christ, whoever was doing the blood work for this movie, good. you know what you're doing.
You know what blood look like.
You know what blood look like. No, he's his whole face is covered in blood, and you can literally see the skull bits. I thought that was so funny. I was like, Jesus. And she was even surprised. She was like, wow.
So they have a little talk, and he threatens to burn the book, which is for some reason in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, you've been doing this to other kids, haven't you? I've just been your faucet of innocent blood. And then, crap, what happens next? He burns the book.
He sets it on fire, and then throws it.
Runs out, goes to his neighbor's car, decides to take matters into his own hands, and drives it through the front of his house to kill the babysitter, who's distracted trying to put the book out.
Yeah.
And then they have a little talk oh, we were so close.
Yeah, and he's like, I loved you because you were cool. And
oh, yeah, the team. You and I were on the team together.
Yeah, and she was like, oh. And then she tries to do the, E.T. finger thing, and he's like their thing. Yeah. Thing. And he's like, no, goodbye. And he just, leaves. Yeah. And I was like, oh. But I was glad. I was glad that he didn't, because it was like, no, bitch. No, you don't get to, no. You don't get to die happy. You were a bitch.
Yeah, so, alright, now we can actually just talk a little bit more about the movie now that we got the plot taken care of. Alright, so
a second round of police finally show up, obviously, because
to explain.
You don't run an entire car into somebody's house in the middle of the night, and nobody on the fucking block knows.
The friend had called the police.
I know, but still, I'm mad. Anyways.
And then, it was explained. So I forgot to mention also why the police, after being killed, didn't just, more cops came. So there was just a whole part where he wanted to be a cop, so he kind of knows some cop things. And because the babysitter knows him so well, he told the jock to say into the radio, the codes. 10-4. 10-4.
And then 7, which is we're going to get something to eat.
Yeah, I guess. But.
So it made the other guys back at the station go, oh, they're good. Everything's taken care of. But really it wasn't. Anyways, so yeah, that was a pretty cool tidbit about the character.
Alright, I would give this movie 4 burn books out of 5 burn books.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, easy 8. 8.5, on a scale of 1 to 10. Because I am a fan of horror films, but trust me, I know a shitty horror film when I see it, but I'm also a huge fan of comedy. I literally can't give less of a score than 8 for both. If I were to split this movie up into a comedy and a horror film, they'd both get an 8 for me. They were so good on both parts. And when you put them together, it was still really good. Not a lot of people can do that. So, again, Brian, whatever your name is, really good job. Seriously.
Yeah,
really well written.
I would say, like, I mean, it's really good. I don't think there were too many flaws. It's just, there were just some, it wasn't, like, above and beyond, you know? There weren't any crazy new concepts in it.
Sure.
But, I mean, they don't all have to be new
Yeah,
concepts.
they don't,
but
and they
at the
don't
same
have
time,
to be.
I really enjoyed this movie. It's a good movie. I'd watch it again.
Oh,
honestly.
absolutely, definitely. If I recommended this to a friend and they wanted to see it, I would gladly sit down and watch it again with them. Happily. It was really good.
I appreciated the Jock was doing the Friday the 13th. The iconic noise. Or sound effect.
Yeah,
whenever
it's
Jason
breathing
plays.
or whatever.
It's pretty funny.
It was really funny.
I love that homage.
Well, and it's funny because personally we've been trying to watch the old school Friday the 13th movies, and we recently, so like it's so funny how that trope, that horror trope actually showed up in this movie again. Really well done, because he was toying with him, and that sound effect in the actual original Friday the 13th movies was kind of a psychological, like, psych out, because it was to tell you that he's nearby, and it was like, oh my god. So for him to do that, obviously he was just below the treehouse, so he was like, come down from the treehouse, like he was obviously taunting him. So I thought that was really funny.
For sure. I don't know. I enjoyed that they established stuff early on, but it wasn't super in your face.
Mm-hmm. I also really appreciate that, like, the cheerleader girl who got shot in the boob, she was hilarious. All of her lines were hysterical. She was like, nobody's gonna want to suck on my nipple with this deflated boob. I'll never be able to have the dream job that I wanted. And she just goes on, and it's like, she's so she's obviously super into herself. She's super annoying, but it was actually really funny. It was, I can't even understand. I can't even explain it.
They should also put it in comedy. I don't know. We didn't look.
We didn't look, but it's like, Jesus, this movie had me bursting out laughing and scared to the point where I'm quiet and I'm jumping and I'm flinching. I can't even. The roller coaster between the two emotions was insane and done so well. It never took me out of the seriousness of the stakes, of how high the stakes are, of how, like, holy shit, is he gonna die? Like, is he gonna get hurt? What's gonna fucking happen? Honestly. Because they didn't establish the parents enough to be like, oh no, the kid died, blah, like.
Well, we know that.
No,
yeah, kind of.
Like, you don't necessarily know.
They love the kid, but at the same time,
you don't necessarily know.
He gets left enough to have a older woman just watch him and have more of a connection with his parents.
Yeah, she has more of a connection with him than his parents do. And that's not to say that his parents don't love him, but they definitely weren't established enough to be like, oh, the parents love this kid and they really care about him. I mean, they care about him enough like any other parent would.
But like the son, like, oh, what are you watching? Oh, Mad Men.
You wouldn't understand it.
I want to watch with you, Dad. I want to connect with you.
Yeah, I know.
Too young.
Yeah, and then she's like, can you go pick up your toys? And he's like, all right, Mom. Like,
picks up one toy of 10.
Yeah, seriously. But it's just kind of like, clearly the parents kind of baby him and they kind of treat him like he's a kid. So it's like, anyways, I just feel like you didn't know. Like, it wasn't something that you could predict, like, oh, of course the kid's gonna survive. Not necessarily. No, it was not completely obvious that he was going to survive, because clearly they established that she's done this before and she'll probably do it again. She kept talking about how she was just gonna move. She has to move town and she has to go to another town and relocate and do this all over again.
Yeah, it's smart, and it's
like,
the way
holy shit, like,
it's smart. Like the one lines explain more than just the one line worth of information.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, I gotta skip town again.
That
like
says so much.
Establishing you've done this again and again.
Uh-huh.
And you've killed before.
Yeah, and you've probably had to relocate before. Like, holy shit, it really establishes a lot.
The two knife guy, I think, said something which I wish I remember, but it also kind of like said a whole lot. Maybe it was.
Are you talking about the Samuel, the guy that got killed or sacrificed?
Forgot what it was. Maybe it was the whole "I don't know you guys" thing, where it's like, so they've all been hanging out before and probably doing this murdery stuff before, and he's the sheep. He's the sacrifice.
Right, because it's definitely established that, like, they all seem to know each other. Like, by the time it gets to him, it's like, oh, they all are really comfortable with each other, but he's not. He's not comfortable with her, nor is he comfortable with any of them. So you're like, okay, well, why is this new guy here, then? Like, why is he
ruining the party?
Yeah, honestly, though. And again, he doesn't fit in. He clearly did not fit in with them. Like, there was a jock, there was a cheerleader. The Asian girl was like really artsy and kind of weird. And well, she had like she had the beret. And she had a beret and really, really bold eye makeup. Okay, I take that as being artsy. I don't freaking know, but she's, you know what I mean? Like they're clearly like a certain type of group, and then he just was not that. He was probably the furthest thing from, if they were a clique, he'd be the last person to ever join this clique, okay?
Yep.
And so you're kind of like, okay, really though, why is he here? And he's even being awkward, and he's kind of like, I don't know what you guys are doing, and he's even suspicious. If a character in the movie is suspicious of all the other characters, I'm gonna get suspicious. Like, period. Anyways, it was just like, there's so many things about this movie that was smart. And like you said it really well. It's one line that can explain so much. And it happens a lot in this movie. None of the dialogue was not on purpose.
Yeah, there was no, like, throwaway lines. Information.
Yeah. All the information, everything that was said was for a reason. I really enjoyed this movie. But it also
did good at, like, it didn't feel like at the time it would be important. Or, like, it didn't feel too forced. It felt like a normal conversation or something anyone would say.
Yeah, it didn't feel too specific. Like, why did they bring up that specific thing about the one time that this thing happened, and just to tell us that he's got a broken finger? Like, you know, or something like that. Like, it didn't get too specific about anything. It was like, yeah, a kid who really likes talking about, like, intergalactic and nerdy sci-fi stuff. And he has a nerdy sci-fi room. Like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. He's also a 12-year-old boy. Like, it's like, all of these things make sense. The only thing that I would say that didn't make a whole lot of sense was there's one part that I will say that in the script doesn't come up ever again in the movie, and it was when he got pushed down by the bully at the beginning of the movie. His glasses fell off of his face, and when she came and scared them away and whatnot, and she picked him up, she picked up his glasses and she said, "Oh, these are new." And he's like, "Yeah, I hardly ever wear them. I just wear them because they say it'll make my left eye better, but I don't really see a difference." That was the only part that I don't see ever coming up later in the movie. But it was really specific. Am I right?
Except it didn't matter because he never actually needed the glasses. It was just one wasn't quite doing so well. So.
Yeah, but then he also never wears the glasses for the rest of the movie.
Maybe just to make him look more nerdy.
I guess, right? Like, it was just a justification of him having glasses at the beginning of the movie. I'm really confused. Like, whoever designed the costume designer of this movie, because obviously they're not wearing their own clothes. They're wearing costumes for these characters, right? Mm-hmm. So whoever, like, designed the costumes, did they shoot the first part of the movie? And then she was like, yeah, you know what? I'm actually not feeling those glasses. Can we write something in the script to get rid of them? Please. No. Thank you. What happened with that?
So, I guess something I could talk about would be the book, or like the satanic book. Like, it seems like such a old trope, and felt kind of like weird because they didn't go into too much detail, or I'm just saying, or it's kind of cliche. And they didn't do anything interesting.
That's
really
actually
with it.
I think it was smartly done. Well, because it is cliche that it's just...
But it wasn't with a twist. It was just...
No, but they didn't make it specific. They weren't like, it's the book of blah, 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 the Lord of Sacrifice and Wishes, and it's basically evil genie. Like, no, they didn't even specify what kind of book. It literally could have been an old-ass book. But it literally could have been an old-ass book from, like, the basement of the, like, local library, like, for all we fucking know. Like, really, though. Because, and so, like, yeah, with every other movie, Evil Dead, like, every other movie where there's a book involved that has something to do with evilness, they always have to, like, tell you the name of the book, and it's about this, and blah, 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 and there's, like, at least a couple lines explaining the book. Nobody said shit about this book. It was there. It makes your wishes come true. You need blood of a sacrifice and blood of the purest human being you could find. That's it. Like,
but like, see, a
and
problem
there's a spell.
with that is also like, what is her wish? You know, is it to be just she has to keep wishing to be young?
Yeah.
Maybe it has limits. We don't know. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure with the line, gotta leave town again, she's been doing this whole thing, so I think the book actually works. Mm-hmm. If not, then it's just kind of a cultist thing that they do, because I think the cheerleader, the black kid, and the Asian were in on the cult, but the jock was just like, I'm just here for the killing part,
Yeah, he wasn't necessarily there for the wishes.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if the wishes do or don't work.
Yeah, that wasn't totally said, if they do or don't work. I mean, and it also could be that she said that she used to be small and weak, and now she's big and strong. I mean, so she's probably, what if she wasn't always a 16-year-old or whatever age that she's supposed to be,
maybe
right?
Maybe she is a lot older.
Yeah, like she could be a lot older, and maybe it's keeping her young and strong and beautiful. And also, she clearly had a lot of time on her hands to establish a strong relationship with this kid for this moment. This moment to take blood from him. And if she's done this before, that means she's had plenty of time to establish herself with a family and a little boy or a little girl or somebody to take blood from before. So, I mean, she could be eternal. She could be a lot older than she was.
I wish it was just a book of youth rather than wishes, because your wishes...
But the other, like you said, the black guy and the Asian girl, they were, and I think maybe even the cheerleader, they were all in on wishes. They were like, I better get my thing and I better get my share.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, they were saying, like, I remember the Asian girl, I think she was like, all I know is that I better get what I came here for. And B was like, don't worry, Sonia, like, you'll have your part, like, you'll get your share or whatever kind of thing. And it was like,
they already had all they needed. They could have left the kid alone.
They really could have.
The book left. Who would believe them?
And I think they would have. I really do. I think they, like, if the kid actually was asleep, actually unconscious when they took the blood, they could have done what they needed to do and then left.
What are the odds the night that the kid decides to stay up is also the night
that they do the sacrifice? Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that it wasn't the kid. At this point, the kid was established. The kid was best buds with B. No. But they still needed a sacrifice. So, what I'm trying to say is, she took the time to establish, like, a relationship with this little kid, but the sacrifice guy, she had probably only known for, like, a day or two. Because we saw him earlier in that same day with B. At the, like you said, at, like, the gas station or whatever. That was it. I don't know when, like, because he still wasn't really comfortable with the rest of the group, which means they just met this guy. But the kid's been around for a while.
Yeah, but the chances that he decides to see what they're doing on the same night that they're sacrificed.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what if he had not decided to do that, and instead, like, what if it was like, we as the audience saw what they were doing, and he decides to just try to sleep, but is woken up by them coming into the room, So he has to just try to pretend to be asleep. Although then he wouldn't have known.
No, he wouldn't have known. I mean, he probably would have. Like, would he have called the cops if all they did was come into his room to take his blood? Yeah. Not knowing anything else. Like, not knowing the reason why they took his blood, but just that.
What if the RV car had a camera and he just stayed in his room and saw it through that way? That would be amazing.
That'd be, that'd be interesting. The police would probably be a lot more helpful in this movie if that were the case.
Yeah, anyways, the police are not helpful.
They weren't at all.
Yeah, let's talk about, like, why did he, instead of either grabbing a gun or just going through the front door, just run up the stairs, honestly. It was crazy.
That was stupid. Also, when he went across the street with the girl, remember how we skipped over that part pretty quickly? Where we were like, yeah, he went to her, like, across the street girl's house, and then they hid, because she had a gun, they were hiding away from her, and then there was a part where they got around her, and they went past the open front door to a bathroom. Instead of just running out the front fucking door. And he was like, oh, I want to protect you. And he, like, quickly got out of the bathroom. And she's like, the lock is on the inside, but thanks, it was sweet. And then he was like, oh, oops, okay. And then he ran out the front door finally. It was like...
Yeah.
What? So if you never planned to hide in the bathroom for long, why didn't you just run through the front door in the first place?
Well...
But that was kind of scary.
So what other flaws were there? I don't know. I didn't like the whole... Say something? I'm not going to press snooze. It's just... Anyways, like the rope part was just kind of like... It didn't seem like the rope would go around his neck like that, the jock's neck. I know, like, oh, they all got tangled and stuff, but like, I could see it more.
I think it was done seamlessly. It wasn't like it went like the way that it was shot would be like, oh, okay, this neck got snapped. Okay, like I thought that they kind of showed enough shots of the rope in a way where, like, oh, the kid's running after the rope and he's running after the rope and they're both trying to catch onto the rope or the branch or whatever to save themselves from falling. And, of course, you see his hand slip off of the branch and the kid's still on the rope. So when he falls down, just the rope just kind of, I don't know. It was just, I felt like it wasn't awkward. It wasn't like that was, like, came out of nowhere.
It would have been interesting to see, like, he slips grabbing the rope or grabbing the branch, and then, like, a part of the treehouse that broke, like, fell on him and stabbed him.
Really, what's more of a flaw, not really how he got killed by the rope, but how the black guy fell off the balance beam, and then there just happened to be a glass pointy like, award on the floor. And that just, like,
I don't know.
Stabbed him through his neck.
They just had some decorations down below, and he fell from a high distance, so I guess
but he could have just hit his head on the fucking corner of
the
table.
And just gruesome.
It really was, though. Well, I mean, yeah.
Cheerleader gets shot in the boobie. We don't see the incinerated body. And
that was so funny.
Well, I guess the head did explode.
Yeah, that was pretty gruesome.
I mean, like, she didn't know, so
it
wasn't like it was kind of humane in a way.
I guess, it was the heat of the moment. It was behind her, so she didn't see that happening. I don't know. Yeah, it's just. I mean, all in all, it was smart. Like, the flaws, if you will, quote-unquote flaws of the movie wasn't enough to be like...
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad at all. Like, I've definitely seen worse movies try to be funny and, like, horror at the same time. Like, I'm not gonna, like, be super mean, but, like, I know a lot of people love, like, John Dies at the End, like, those movies. And it's like, yeah. Or, like, Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz. Like, yeah, those are horror films that are also... supposed to be funny, and the last two that I mentioned I enjoy, and I guess I kind of want to put this movie up there with them in that it's a horror movie and a comedy at the same time. I think it was really well done. So
yeah.
Any last things that you want to say about the movie?
Let me think of anything else. So do you think at the end, when the babysitter was like, "Oh, we can run away," do you think she was being honest, or was she just being deceitful? Because I think she was kind of being deceitful.
I think she was being deceitful.
Yeah.
I think she was being deceitful. I think she was, just trying to put that in his head. Because why would you continue to walk towards him while saying all of this? You know, like if you were being honest, you could have just stood there, made your point. You know what I mean? Like you didn't have to walk slowly around the island in the kitchen trying to inch your way closer to him and closer and closer. Like it was like, no, you're obviously lying. And at part, like, especially because she kept smiling, like, see, I'm smiling, yeah, it's gonna be fine. And I was like, no. No, nobody ever believes that.
Alright, well, I was gonna mention some of the director shotness of the movie, where it's like there's a scene where the boy and girl are on the bus who like each other. Mm-hmm. So everything in the background is slow motion. I think there's a few other parts like that. I can't quite remember.
I was the one that mentioned this, but yes, the first time you see him talking to the girl, they're in front of the school, and everybody else around them is in slow motion. And then it's like a couple minutes later, it's the same thing. They're on the bus talking to each other, and you see a bunch of kids being rowdy and just kind of being crazy around them, and they're all in slow motion again, and these kids are in normal time. And I thought that was really interesting.
Also, like some of the parts where it's like, oh, there is text at the bottom. Like, what the fuck?
Oh,
I can't remember what else was there. I can't quite remember. But that was kind of good.
There was something that was like OMG something, I think. Oh man, yeah. There was a couple of text scenes. I just remember specifically the one where he's like, "What the fuck?" Because it was like, oh, that was really done well. I like that.
I enjoyed terms of character arc, like we see this kid who's struggling to fit in and who's struggling to like stand up for himself, and then we see like a compilation of all the times he's hit with the ball or like mistreated, mm-hmm. and it's like, and then he's like, all right, it's time to take matters into my own hands. And it's like, then he drives the car into the front of the house. And it's like, this came out of nowhere.
Yeah, but I also like that his friend...
He was finally standing up for himself.
Yeah, but like, what's so funny is that the audience, us, like, we're thinking, okay, I thought you were just gonna, take the car and try to drive it, like, to safety or something, right? And like at the end, the girl's like sitting next to him on the curb, and she's like, I thought you were gonna drive away, like, or something like that. And he goes, I can't, like, yeah, like he should have fucking done. And he's like, oh, I wasn't gonna leave you. And I just like that a character in the movie said what everybody was thinking. You know what I mean? Like, she was like, I thought you were gonna drive away. So it's like, yeah, thank you for saying that. So what was your reasoning for not? Mm-hmm. And he's like, I wasn't gonna leave you. It's like, at least he actually answered a question that the audience genuinely would have had. Like, I just really like that when a character in the movie is thinking the same way that the actual real world, like a real world character would, or a real world person would,
Final thought, I hope the parents have house insurance.
Holy shit, yeah. Homeowner insurance, please. Get that shit fixed. Also, I'm really glad that the douchey dad's car got totaled. That was funny.
A Camaro or something?
I don't know. Camaro. Mustang, maybe. I don't even know. It was a NASCAR car. It was. Yeah,
it
was like race car or some shit.
Indianapolis or something. Anyways, thanks so much for listening.
Yeah. And tune in next time for episode 2. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but...
Pitch Perfect 3.
But look out for it. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.